Dear students, today in this class we are going to learn the third chapter in history, that is the impact of British rule in India. In this chapter we are going to learn about so many aspects. They are as follows. We are going to learn about administrative and judicial system. In that we are going to learn about civil services, judicial system, police system, military system. And second one is land tax policies. In this land tax policies, we are going to learn about permanent jamindari system, mahalwari system, raitwari system. And third one is about modern education. And fourth one about the laws that were introduced during the British rule in India. The British East India Company fulfilled its commercial needs in the beginning as a trade company. On observing the fractured political landscape of India, wherein hundreds of ruling dynasties were competing with each other, the British thought of exploiting the situation to further their political consolidation. They implemented divide and rule policy among the Indian rulers and slowly dominated all the rulers and subjugated them. In order to achieve complete domination in India, they employed war and negotiation methods cleverly. After getting India under control by employing various clever means, the British thought of strengthening their hold over India permanently. Then, India was devoid of one nation concept and was scattered into various kingdoms. The British integrated the whole of India under one administrative and political structure. Education, judiciary, land taxes, trade, and agriculture, and other various areas of activities were regulated under various laws and administrative system. This brought in a new structure to India. While implementing all these measures, they never forgot to protect their financial interests. The British East India Company implemented various administrative experiments in order to achieve a new order in India. Dear students, now let us learn about different concepts that were followed by the British. The first one is administrative and judicial system. In this, we are going to learn about civil services. Lord Cornwallis introduced the administration of civil services. The system of appointing employees for the purpose of trade was done by the East India Company from the beginning. The company also provided permission for private workers to trade. By using these opportunities, employers made money, became corrupt through illegal means. So, to control this, in 1773, the government of England implemented a regulating act in India. The aim of regulating act was, as the name suggests, to enforce control. In 1800, Lord Cornwallis opened Fort William College in Calcutta for the benefit of people aspiring to join civil services. But this initiation did not find support from the directors of the East India Company. As a result, all the appointments till 1853 were done by the directors. From 1853 onwards, the appointments for civil services were done through competitive examinations. This did not benefit Indians much. The British continued to suspect the efficiency of the Indians. Lord Cornwallis argued all the natives of Hindustan are completely corrupt. As a result, only lower grade jobs were given to Indians. Dear students, now let us learn about the judicial system. A new judicial system started finding roots when the British rule in began taking over from the Mughal rule. After the Battle of Buxar, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam handed over the Diwani rights, the authority to collect land taxes to the British. With this, dual administration came into effect in Bengal region. This is also called dual governance. Under this, the authority to collect land taxes, civil and judiciary were given to the Indian officials, whereas the British retained the authority of managing the revenue collected. Later on, the British thought of bringing more centralized judicial system in India. With the implementation of this system, the British overtook the authority of the Mughal and established their supremacy in India. This was attained by implementing new judicial system in India. According the administrative plan devised by Warren Hastings, who took over the administration as governor in 1772, two types of courts were needed to be established in each district: a Diwani Adalat as civil court and a Fauzdari Adalat as a criminal court. In these civil courts, Hindus were dispensed justice as per the Hindu scriptures and the Muslims as per the Shariat. Slowly, the British legal procedures were introduced in the criminal courts. Civil courts came under the administration of European officers, though the criminal courts were under the control of Quajis. They were functioning under the supervision of European officers. Now let us learn about police system. The police are in charge of maintaining the internal law and order situation. Lord Cornwallis implemented the efficient police system in India for the first time. He created the new post of Superintendent of Police. He divided a district into many stations and put every station under a kotwal. Similarly, he put every village under the care of Chowkidar. Kotwal was made accountable for thefts, crimes, and other law violations at village level. The severe drought of 1770 led to the weak law and order situation. Hence, the entire police system was brought under the control of the British officers. The system of appointing British magistrates started in 1781. The police officers were under the power of the magistrators. The police system underwent continuous changes. In 1861, the police law was implemented. This law is the base of good law and order. But Indians were not appointed for the post of officers. In 1902, the Police Commission law allowed the appointment of suitable educational qualification for the post of the police officers. In spite of all these measures, the discrimination against the Indians did not end. Now, the fourth one is military system. The military was the base of administration during the British rule. The British appointed the Indians for the military and took the entire India under their control with the help of the military. They protected their supremacy by addressing the challenges posed by outside as well as inside forces with the help of the military. The officers were again the British. The Indians could reach the rank of Subedar, the highest post available to them. Most of the Indians were coolie soldiers. The British government accepted the recommendations of Peel in 1857. Based on these recommendations, the military system was redesigned. Now we are going to learn about land taxes policies. Very important aspect. The East India Company had to pay 4 lakh pounds to the British government for its control over Bengal province. In order to fulfill this commitment, the company had to stabilize its financial interests in a secure manner. Hence, it implemented many new land tax policies. The first one is permanent zamindari system. Lord Cornwallis implemented a new land tax policy in Bengal and Bihar regions during 1793 in order to generate steady revenue per annum. This was called permanent zamindari system. Under this system, zamindar became the landowner. The zamindar was expected to pay the agreed land taxes to the company on a set date every year. He was free to collect any amount of land taxes from the farmers and could retain the excess money collected. This benefited the zamindar more. If the zamindar was unable to collect land taxes due to floods and famine and pay the company, the ownership of the lands were taken away by the company. Both the zamindar and the company were benefited by this system, but the farmers were the grave sufferers. This system created a new social group that aided the British. The farmers, the farming laborers suffered due to irregular working opportunities in the farming lands. They were exploited and had to lead a life of insecurity. This system was extended to Bihar, Odisha, Andhra, and Varanasi regions later. According to Charles Metcalfe, the Indian farmers were born in debt, lived in debt, and died in debt due to the land tax policies of the British. Now let us learn about Mahalwari system. The company government entered an agreement at the level of Mahals with regard to payment of land tax in Uttar Pradesh. In many parts of Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, and Delhi. Mahal means taluk. R.M. Bird and James Thomson implemented this system. There were differences in the implementation of this system from region to region. The big and small zamindars were part of this system. Since the company officials fixed more land tax than the expected production from the fields, many zamindars had to lose their ownership of the lands. The marginal farmers and agricultural laborers who were dependent on these zamindars also suffered due to this. Now let us learn about Raitwari system. The Raitwari system was first implemented in Baramahal region by Alexander Reed in 1792. This system was later implemented in Madras and Mysore region by Thomas Munro in 1801. Most of these regions had become part of British Empire by that time. Under this system, both the farmer and the company were directly linked. The tiller of the land was recognized as the owner of the land. The owner had to pay 50% of produce as land tax to the company government. The land tax had 30 years tenure. The tax could be revived after this tenure. Though the small farmers were given land ownership, they were subjected to more suffering due to heavy land taxes. The officials took punitive actions to collect land taxes. The farmers had to borrow from the money lenders whenever the crops failed. They had to sell their lands whenever they failed to repay the loans. Though the company government claimed that the new system benefits the farmers, the irony was that more farmers had to lose their lands due to its implementation. Now, let us learn about the impact of British land tax system. First one, a new class of zamindars who exploited the farmers was created. Second, the farmers who were subjected to the exploitation of the zamindars became landless slowly. Third one, the land became a commodity. Loans could be raised by mortgaging the lands. Fourth one, many zamindars also had to mortgage their lands in order to pay the land taxes. Fifth one, the agriculture sector became commercialized and had to grow raw materials needed by industries back in England. Sixth one, the money lenders became strong. Students, now let us learn the third important aspect, that is all about the modern education system. Let us know what is this modern education system. The traditional education of Indians was in practice continuously. Certain changes occurred in the traditional education system during the rule of Muslim kings during the Middle Ages. Later, new changes occurred during the British rule during 18th century. New schools were started for the children of British and Europeans living in India. Since these facilities were never extended to the locals, it was of no use for them. Warren Hastings facilitated the expansion of the modern education in India. In 1781, he started Calcutta Madrasa, and a British individual by name Jonathan Duncan started Sanskrit College in Banaras in 1792. But it was Charles Grant who pressed for the universalization of British education in India. The expansion of the British education, India received special support after the appointment of Lord William Bentinck in 1828 as the Governor General of India. William Bentinck appointed Macaulay as the member of Governor General's Executive Committee. Macaulay was also appointed as the chairperson of the Committee on Education. The report on education submitted by him in 1835 became the base of the modern education in India. In his policy aimed at the creation of a new class of Indians who are Indians by body but British in intelligence, opinion, and taste. The use of English medium in Indian learning system started after 1830s. Another important development included the establishment of universities in India. The Governor General Lord Dalhousie established universities in Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras as per the suggestions of Charles Woods Commission 1854. After this, the education started becoming universalized in India. So now let us learn the impact of British education in India. First one, Indians could develop modernity, secularism, democratic attitudes, and rationality along with nationalistic ideals. Second, impetus was received for the local literature and languages. This facilitated unity in thinking process among the educated class. Third one, periodicals started emerging. These scrutinized the policies and working of the government, which in turn enabled the Indians to have critical opinions on various issues. Fourth, new social and religious reformation movements emerged. Fifth, the thoughts of thinkers like J.S. Mill, Rousseau, and Montesquieu brought fresh thinking in the mind of educated youth of India. Sixth one, the freedom struggles that were taking place across the globe influenced the Indians also. Seventh one, Indians could understand and appreciate their rich tradition. Like this, the new thinking and cultural perception that emerged during the British education system created a new generation of Indians with progressive attitudes. So, this is all about the impact of British education in India. Okay, children, in the next class, let us learn about constitutional laws that were implemented during the British rule in India. Okay, thank you.